Trevor here.
And we are from Topocata Animation, which is a small studio in Hertford, UK. And we specialise in our own technique of animation, which uses paper cutouts and motion capture.
Yes. And this is a podcast for all you creative types out there who may be working out of a small studio or individually and are interested in hearing conversations and tips and tricks about the creative world and industry.
Fantastic. Welcome back.
Yes, that's that done. So what are we talking about today, Eleanor?
So today is episode 19.
Oh my goodness.
No less. And we've called it The Power of Persistence.
Yes. Now,
we've just written a blog about this as well. So we'll also do a little link.
Place a link.
Yeah.
I will do that. Yeah. Power of persistence. So rather than perseverance, because somebody might say, well, why didn't you call it the power of perseverance? It's harder to say. Start. And also, perseverance feels like it's just muddling through.
Yeah, it feels like you're not looking up to see what might be happening. You're just carrying on oblivious.
Yeah, whereas persistence feels a bit more targeted.
Yeah.
So we're saying persistent.
i.e. like changing to your environment, like changing for the better. Adapting,
yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. So this comes about, I guess, for two reasons. Firstly, because we recently received an email. Well, it was a reply to something I sent out that was a guy working at a software company that we use to create our creations, in particular one called Galdo's Gift, which is a interactive web storybook that we've developed. And just recently, this is the other reason we're considering it, is that we've been awarded funding by Innovate UK.
Yeah, so it's funding for innovation, next phase.
Absolutely. So we're at a really exciting stage with it. But Galdo's Gift has been on quite a journey.
It's been around a little while.
It has been around a little while.
In that form, anyway.
Yeah, when was it released, Eleanor?
2018, we released it.
2018.
Yeah.
So you can see where persistence creeps in. It has, yes, it was initially released on the Apple Bookstore. Do people know about the Apple Bookstore? Apple Books, I think it's called. Really.
Yes, yeah.
Most people know about Apple App Store or any app store, but this is specific to books. And that might seem quite an unusual place for us creatively to start. Mm-hmm. But we had very good reasons for picking it. Mm-hmm. Which were? Well, it was technology that we could deal with because the Apple Bookstore is basically ebooks. So you're looking at ebook technology or ebook software, which is a lot simpler than app software if you're going to create something.
We wanted to be able to create it ourselves.
Yes.
And back in 2018, this was our flagship product, wasn't it? It was where we worked out our techniques and how we're going to make our animations.
Yes.
So it was a vehicle for many things, but we wanted a proper product at the end of it. And we thought that the bookstore would be something that we could actually achieve ourselves without having to then bring on another company and deal with all of that side of it. We wanted to have control, basically.
Exactly. It was a lot more manageable than going down the app route. And we also just got excited about what you could do with ebook technology that nobody was doing at the time. So it's one of those things that you're sort of stepping into an arena that maybe you don't know everything about. And that's a bit of an advantage because you go for it.
Yeah.
And we felt also that we'd be a sort of big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
That we weren't in amongst all the other games and apps and on the App Store.
Yeah.
That we would maybe stand out. So that was our thinking behind it at the beginning. But yes, from 2018 to now, it's been quite a journey, and it has definitely been a story of persistence. And this email, did I actually say in the
No, I don't think you did.
Even
you
say
didn't get around to
in
it.
the email, a reply that I got from this guy was the fact that he said, "I admire your persistence." And we both sort of read it and thought,
Oh, yeah.
We hadn't even considered that we were. And so that has made us kind of review where we were and where we are now. And the power of persistence has definitely played a part in getting us to a point where we are funded for innovation, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Because a while back, I was sort of describing the journey, and there's definitely been some dead ends along the way, which we will tell you about. But she was saying, well, why don't you just give up? Why don't you stop and do something else? Yeah. Which is really kind of nonplus me, because I hadn't even thought of that. I hadn't even thought that
was a thing.
We should, we're making this and we're making it happen, and you just have to keep on keeping going. It's
I mean, I suppose we would look back and go, well, why were we persistent? Why did we carry on? And obviously it's not always a good thing. Like, don't persist if you are banging your head against a brick wall and you don't feel it's worth it in the end. You have to make up your own mind, I suppose, as to whether you want to persevere with it.
The value is not only for us and people being aware of us and, a vehicle for our work, but it also made a lot of difference to people's lives. Yeah. We had a lot of feedback about the positivity that it spread, and how children on the scale of autism or with some form of dyslexia, they were enjoying it.
Yes.
It was never made as this is going to help, but it was made as a funny, fun story that has got surprise and inventiveness, and
we were excited about the whole
discovery
idea of a storybook that comes to life. Weren't we?
Yeah.
Imagine you had a book, you opened it, this magical storybook, and the pictures came alive with animation. There was a little character on the page that read the story, and your name ends up within the story itself. All of those kind of magical elements. But it just as a side effect of that, it has meant that when we've taken it to schools and things like that, it draws children in a very particular way that fits with maybe certain things like autism that we hadn't even considered. That's other people kind of saying that to us, and there's we've not gone down that route at all at the moment.
No, we haven't. I mean, we also got teacher of gifted children contacting us for use in her school.
Yes.
So there's a whole range of people it's relevant to, and that's kind of reflected in the fact that we won a lot of awards for it as well.
Yes.
So
all of that has kind of
world.
Meant that when we had our first big knock, our first thing that went wrong, if you can call it that, we wanted to carry it forward, definitely.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that it existed beyond that. And that was the Apple bookstore changed its requirements. So that meant the book didn't work in the way that we wanted it to. And so we had to sort of make a decision about that. I think we had made some of that decision already because of the restrictions of just having it on Apple.
Yeah, well, this was one of the things that came about from going to schools and festivals and talking to people, is that it's only available, obviously, for those with an Apple device.
Yes.
And
so you get that little kid coming up and going, Mummy, can I have it? Sorry, you've got an Android device.
No, but also with Apple being the ones in control of and in contact with our audience. So we did various things to try and connect with the audience. We made a Galdo's gift guide, and we made certificates, and there's a golden envelope that you could send. And we made lots of things so we could have more contact with the people actually using it and interacting.
Yeah.
So already we were on a route to try and find more connection somehow. So we'd already been starting looking to put it somewhere else. But that was a blow, the fact that we had to take it down, basically.
Yeah, and at that stage, it was a big blow because it hadn't been put anywhere else.
No.
Because Apple's bookstore was the only place really that could cope with all the features. We hadn't managed to find anywhere else, any other platform that could deal with that at that point.
When we first went onto the Apple bookstore, it did go up there in the scale. It was number 3 in the charts, wasn't it? Yeah. In amongst the Harry Potters.
Harry Potters, yeah.
And we kind of thought, maybe, big fish, small pond idea, that maybe Apple would pick it up.
Yeah, would highlight it.
But
how did that work out?
We were a little bit naive there in that I don't think they did notice.
Maybe, yeah. I think what caught us out really was that we hadn't realised that the Apple bookstore it was just was what it was, and they weren't looking to
pushing.
reach into different areas.
Yeah.
And so where we thought, oh, well, this is really kind of new and exciting and this could be a new direction, they weren't looking for that at all. I think there was maybe just a bookstore front with all the popular books on the storefront.
Yeah.
And they weren't highlighting any kind of mavericks like us. So that was a bit of a dead end, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And I suppose with any of those things, it's deciding, okay, well, do we try and push that? Do we try and sort of contact Apple? Do we try and, but if you can see that a company structure is what it is, trying to fight against that and trying to push beyond that is nigh on impossible. Mm-hmm. And do you really want to do that anyway?
Well, that was the thing. We were already sort of looking for different ways to connect with our audience beyond Apple.
Yeah.
So we were also in contact, or we looked at a lot of other
software
companies that have their own sort of e-readers.
Yes.
And
there's other ways of displaying the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We went through a few, didn't we? And that was actually fairly soon after it was on the Apple Store. So we were definitely thinking about how we could make it accessible on all devices rather than just Apple.
Yeah, yeah.
Once again, it's that other aspect of, does the software company want to go in that direction? So because it had all these advanced features, a lot of the platforms didn't quite cater for it. There was always one thing that wasn't quite there because we had the illustrations were basically looping movies. So that's the whole idea of illustrations coming alive. Then we had a little character which was narrating from the page. And then we had the pop-up definitions. And then we had the soundtrack and we had the personalization. So we really had pushed the technology and pushed the frontiers as much as anybody had ever done. And so a lot of the ebook readers besides Apple weren't catering for that.
No.
So we were hoping we could, we did work with software companies that were creating these ebook readers, hoping that they could then expand their software to be able to take up these different things.
I think, again, it is looking at their direction, and the majority of their customers weren't looking for that themselves. So why would they sort of go out on a limb for us and in a sustained way?
This is the whole issue, really, and that's why we've sort of taken it back under our wing. If you're pushing the boundaries of the tech and the platforms, these specific platforms and this specific format, then you are relying on the software companies to be in line with your...
to come along with you,
direction. Yeah. And so that is quite a difficult thing to marry up. And that's what we found. And we did persist quite a long time, I think, before we should have realised that
so exasperated.
That was the case. Sorry?
So exasperated.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was just, we should have realised, I think, earlier. It's really difficult, though, because if you can see things progressing, no matter at what pace, you want to continue in that direction.
Yeah.
Because you can see it progressing. But I think there's something to be said for learning when progress is too slow. There might be a reason for that.
Yeah.
And assessing that as early as you can is probably better.
So basically that phase of working with another company also finished.
That also finished.
The collaboration wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
So then... again, it didn't have a platform. So this is when, second time round, we sort of re-looked at it and worked out what we could do. We always wanted to have that control and that connection directly with the customer, audience, user. And now this is what we are working towards.
This is the phase that we're in at the moment. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think because of things going wrong, if that's the way we're going to put it, that did push us to reconfigure the whole thing.
Yeah.
For the web.
Yeah, so
it's no longer constricted by ebook readers or ebook technology.
It doesn't need an app reader. It doesn't need
an app.
Anything like that. It just is.
Yeah. What stopped us, I think, don't you, was that that's a lot of work.
It was a huge amount of work. So if there's any way that it could happen without going through that.
Yeah, because it was set up in a certain way to be, as an ebook, to be played on ebook readers. So, and that was already built. So to then say, well, okay, let's deconstruct all that and reconstruct it for the web was way too daunting for us.
Big deal, yeah.
It felt like a real step back. But I think, through conversations with other people, they sort of almost gave us permission to say, look, I think you just need to go for it. And just actually, in the end,
just knuckle down and do it. Ignore.
Just dedicate time to it.
Yeah.
And how long did it take?
A few weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, it was a few weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as.
It wasn't such a huge task, but you didn't do anything else.
No.
But that.
Exactly.
And that's the thing when you're kind of working in a small company. If you can afford to just ignore everything else happening and just really zone in on one thing, that's actually quite a luxury.
It is a luxury. It was absolute heaven, to be honest, to be saying, right, clear the decks, pretend you're on holiday, and for 2 weeks just do the reconstruction of this.
Yeah, and we got something out of it, it really was a huge step forward. And then from that, it's been realising how we can use that and offer access to people and how we're going to monetize it so it can keep going and keep getting out there.
Yes.
And sort of doing the outreach. That's when I went for this Innovate funding.
Yes.
So without Apple changing and booting us off, essentially, without that company that we were working with just saying this, we can't go any further.
Yeah.
Without those two things, which did feel like a blow, we would not have got to this point where we have got the money to innovate, to take it further. We can see how
it can go forward.
We can go, we can connect with people. We can, we've got a lot going for it now, and
it's really exciting. Yeah, it's got a
2018 to 2024.
Yeah, it's just amazing, isn't it? That it's suddenly, and also it's got all these possibilities. Whereas, so it's not restricted by a platform as such. It's restricted by browsers, but there's so much that browsers can do now. The tech's really sort of caught up.
The tech caught up.
I want to do a quick shout out to Tumult Hype, actually, because the email we got was from the guys at Hype who create the software that has allowed us to reconstruct this for the web.
Yeah.
So we're not sponsored by them, but I think they very much deserve a shout out because they've helped us a lot. And these are the guys that think we're persistent. Because we are. But yes, so from things going wrong, if you could say that, it's meant that we've changed direction, and actually now we're on a path that's really exciting because, yes, we'll have connection with the people that read it. We have oversight of the interface, and then we're going to develop that for not just, everyone, but absolutely everyone, because we're going to make it accessible.
Oh, yes. We're
people
using
with limited mobility
eye
can use it.
Yeah.
So
software.
It's really fantastic. It has opened up so much. It means that everyone can be able to access it.
We've actually got control of our own analytics, which is a major deal, and see how we're going to connect.
Obviously, we'll put a link to Galdo's Gift. I think we've done it before, but we've obviously mentioned Galdo's Gift before because it was such a big project for us and it's ongoing.
It's a big part of who we are, actually, as a company. Yeah, it is a big part of who
we are. It's helped us develop our style and stuff.
I mean, it is an innovation still.
Yes.
Having innovated the book itself, now this next phase is innovating how it's accessed and how
it's shared.
Yeah,
so that's going to be such a big, important part of it. So yeah, definitely go and have a look. And if you sign up to our list, then you will find out when it's released. And also we give little snippets of our journey to getting it there in the first place. Well, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.